And it's great to see so many people here today. I have to say before we start that if you are going to suffer any kind of medical episode, or if you need to report a crime, or if you need a tree, you're in the right place tonight. So this is it's very nice to see all of our employees out here, and so thank you for being here. We have some distinguished honored guests here that we're going to recognize tonight. So I told you to silence your electronic devices, and if you would please stand and join me in the invocation. Lord, we ask you to be with us tonight as we work together towards the common good. We ask you to guide government leaders throughout the world that they may advance peace and human dignity for all. We ask especially for your blessings upon the members of the Florida legislature as they work to find the difficult balance between statewide policies and local autonomy. Finally, we pray that the Jewish members of our community have a healthy and holy Passover season, and that our Christian neighbors have a blessed Holy Week and Easter. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So for those of you who don't frequently visit with the City Council at our meetings, and I don't blame you at all, but we have a tradition here that we open our meetings with a fun or interesting or historical fact concerning City of Temple Terrace or the region that we live in. And so tonight, that duty falls upon Councilmember Kravitz. Councilmember?
I can save everyone a little bit of time because my last recollection on this was that someone was going to stand in for me, and I think they might have not done that. So I don't. What's that? Am I here? You are right there? Oh, wonderful. Well, come right up. They shouldn't have called on me then. Floor is yours. Whatever time I have, I cede it.
Good evening, Amy. You want to tell everybody who you are?
My name is Amy Hutchlaw. I'm the Public Safety Telecommunications Supervisor with the city. I was promoted back in March of 2024, and I'm here tonight to present the fun fact for this evening's meeting. And since it is National Public Safety Telecommunications Week, I had planned on providing a fun history on Temple Terrace's 911 center. However, our history is somewhat of a mystery, and in my search for information, I was only able to determine that we took our first 911 call in September of 1988. 911 became the official emergency number in 1998 when Bill Clinton signed it into legislation, so we were ahead of the game a little bit there, by about 10 years. However, before that, we operated with one officer manning a radio and a phone line, possibly where the current library sits today, from what I've been told. So I redirected as we always do in
Is
dispatch.
your microphone on, Amy?
What?
The microphone right on in the middle of your speaker.
In the middle of the speaker, the little red button.
There you go.
Hello?
Okay,
Okay.
good.
However, before that, we operated with one officer manning a radio and a phone line, possibly where the current library sits today. And with little information to go on from there, I redirected, as we always do in dispatch. So started looking at our present and our future, trying to come up with a really fun fact to share with all of you. Turns out there's not a lot of fun in talking about emergencies or statistics or House bills. So I would like to share that I'm very excited about the Public Safety Telecommunications reclassification that's being voted on at the state level right now, which appears that we will actually be reclassified as first responders as of July 1st this year. This will provide all of our dispatch centers in the state with better benefits and other opportunities. Statistically, I'd like to provide a little information on what it is like for our team on a daily basis. Our PSAP answers 911 administrative lines, police and fire radio. At any given time, there are usually 2 PSTs working on the phones and the radio simultaneously in our center. When I'm in the office, I jump in, answer calls, dispatch, jump on the radio as needed to help them out. But in 2024, our team answered 20,958 911 calls, with 100% of those calls being answered in under 10 seconds. In-progress calls were dispatched in under 2 minutes, and out of those calls, 4,897 of them were fire medical, which are dispatched in under 60 seconds. The unit answered 42,404 administrative calls aiding our residents in day-to-day activities. So far in 2025, we have answered 5,010 911 calls, with 1,226 of those being fire and medical, and 11,042 administrative calls. So the pivotal role of our telecommunicators is in facilitating rapid responses and providing critical support during emergencies is commendable. Our team's ability to remain calm, collected, and compassionate under pressure is the backbone of our community's resilience and safety. And the Beatles classic Help perfectly sums up what our dedicated headset heroes hear from callers every day. That's your fun fact.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, yeah.
So at the risk of dating myself, I can fill in a few blanks for you there, because I was at the sheriff's office prior to 911 coming around in 1988. And you did have a dispatch center. It was just a phone number and a dispatcher, not 911. And at the sheriff's office, we had a phone number. You had to, 247-6411. I don't know why I still remember that. And then 9/11 came around in 1988. At that time, to make a phone call from here to the Plant City Sheriff's Office, the office out there was long distance. And so you had to go to a place and dial 1 and the area code to get to Plant City. And when they first went to 911, they wanted to put the word out. So they put these really fancy looking stickers on the back fender of our patrol cars. And it was a sign of prestige of who was who. If you had a car new enough to have a 911 sticker, you knew that you were either a senior person or you knew somebody or whatever, because you got a newer car, and it was like a badge of honor to have the 911 sticker on your car. And those of us who were fairly new at the time, we were driving like old relics. And so we used to be in awe of the people that had the 911 sticker. So just a little, not a Temple Terrace thing, but I'm sure it was the same here. So. Thank you very much. So our first order of business is a recognition, a proclamation for Arbor Day. And we have our city arborist, Joe Ferris, is here to receive the proclamation. And while he makes his way to the podium, for those of you who don't know Mr. Ferris, he's been with us quite some time and has a very popular person in city government. Everybody in the city seems to know Mr. Ferris and his work with the trees. Very loved in the community. So hopefully you're going to stick around for a while, because everybody knows our city arborist and they hold you in very high regard, as do we. So, and the proclamation is, whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. This holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. Trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, lower heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. Trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. Trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business area, and beautify our community. Trees, whenever they are planted, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. And a bunch of leaves. Right? Now, therefore, I, Andrew Ross, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Temple Terrace, Florida, do hereby acclaim April 22nd, 2025 as Arbor Day. And so, Joe, would you like to say a few words?
Sure. For this year's Arbor Day, we're doing a pretty cool event, working with Corey from the Family Rec Center. So we're wrapping it around the 100 years of the city celebration by giving away 100 orange trees. So we'll have Valencia orange trees available for residents on the 22nd from 4 to 8. And I believe Corey's going to speak a little bit later about some of the other things taking place. It should be a really cool event this year.
Very good. Thank you.
Pretty exciting.
And on behalf of the council, I just want to thank you for all the work you do and the way you treat our citizens. It gets back to us continuously, so thank you for that.
Yeah, we had a really successful tree giveaway in March. We had 159 trees that day and another 149. Thursday will be the last delivery of those for additional orders. So it was a pretty good,
A lot of work.
good turnout with a lot of trees getting out there. So
Let's give them a round of applause. Right?
thank you.
Oh, here she comes.
Right. Hold on, one more. I moved. There you go. Thank you.
Next, we have a proclamation for Law Day. How are we going to do this? Are you going to come down here, or you want me to just read this to you? We saw the deputy city attorney.
I'll come down there, or I can stay here.
No.
But if you want to read the proclamation first. then-
Okay, why don't we do that? We have our city attorney, Mr. Schoen, is here, and our deputy city attorney, Ernie Mueller, is also in the back of the room, so this is for both of you. It says, whereas President Eisenhower, who as a five-star general during World War II, saw firsthand what happens when the rule of law breaks down, proclaimed Law Day in 1958 to highlight the fundamental distinction between government based on force and government based on law. In 1961, by joint resolution of Congress, the 1st of May was designated as the official day for Law Day, a national day set aside for people in the U.S. to celebrate the legal process that contributes to the freedoms that all Americans share, to appreciate their liberties, especially regarding equality and justice, and to cultivate respect for the law. The theme for Law Day 2025 is the Constitution's promise, out of many, one, which in 1776 was adopted as the motto of the United States by representatives from 13 disparate but united states of America, who declared independence from a tyrannical king and proposed as their motto, E pluribus unum, or out of many, one. I'm better with the Latin than I am with the English. A phrase symbolizing the unity of a nation founded on the ideals of liberty, equality, and justice. The drafters of the Constitution, seeking to prevent tyranny by any one group, separated the powers of the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary among three branches of government, ensuring no one faction could rule unchecked. The United States has always consisted of many viewpoints, religions, experiences, and the trajectory of this country has been to include more voices, thus becoming a true representative democracy of the many, as the American people have continued to pursue out of many, one, including with the 15th and 19th constitutional amendments by extending voting rights regardless of race or sex. Public education was designed to serve as a unifying force, providing an economic benefit, instilling values of civic virtue, and bringing social classes together to form one educated citizenry. And we, the people, are united by our shared responsibility to contribute to the common good through actions such as jury duty, voting, paying taxes, military service, and public service. Now, therefore, I, Andrew Ross, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Temple Terrace, Florida, do hereby proclaim May 1st, 2025 as Law Day. So, Mr. Schoen, would you like to say a few words?
This is more about people and reflecting on what law means in our society. This is not really about lawyers, although there are 112,000 maybe plus lawyers in the state of Florida. We're number 4 out of the states for how many lawyers we have. There's actually a Love Your Lawyer Day I discovered in November, but we'll wait for that.
Skip that one.
So, but on Law Day, we as U.S. citizens are supposed to explore and renew our duties to one another under the Constitution and our democratic norms. The Constitution establishes a framework for our government that unites us as one citizenry. And as the mayor mentioned, this is through means such as jury duty, voting, participating in a regular census even. And through this commitment to our union, we each provide for the common good. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Schoen. So, come on up, Bernie.
just in case.
As you would expect, the law is the wordiest of them all.
That's true.
Next up is a couple of my favorite duties or privileges, really not duties or privileges as mayor. Having been to lots and lots of these recognition and award ceremonies throughout my career, I never dreamed in a million years that I would be sitting up here and reading these and actually giving some of these awards out myself. And so I'm very humbled when I get to this part of the year and do this. So Chief, would you like to introduce the item? This is for the 2024 Thomas L. Lewis Police Officer of the Year, and I'm going to allow our Chief of Police, Rob Staley, to introduce the item.
Good evening, everyone. I'm truly honored tonight to present before you our Officer of the Year. Officer Atal Labib is an excellent officer, and it's really a distinguished honor in our agency. We have a board, a panelist that sits there and reviews all of our awards throughout the year. And it's a very difficult task to assign one award, the Officer of the Year. And truly, Labib has come forward and he's set himself apart from the rest of the competition. And you'll read about what the proclamation says, what the numbers say, but what the numbers don't tell you is that he was able to do all that without drawing negative attention. He was able to enforce traffic laws and provide education, and he was able to do so in such a way of professionalism that no one ever complained on him. He's always been the epitome of professionalism, so I'm truly honored to present this award.
Thank you, Chief. Corporal, would you please come to the podium? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to read some of the things that went into Corporal Labib's recognition for this award. It says the Police Officer of the Year Award recognizes exceptional service either through multiple instances of outstanding performance over the course of a year or through a single act of exemplary service in the face of significant difficulty or personal danger. Since joining the Temple Terrace Police Department on January 29, 2018, Corporal Atal Labib has consistently embodied our organization's core values of courage, honor, and commitment. Throughout his career, he has demonstrated outstanding performance in all areas of law enforcement, continually working to improve both the department and the community he serves. In March 2023, Corporal Labib was selected as one of the first officers to be assigned to the newly formed traffic unit. The unit was created to reduce traffic-related violations in the city of Temple Terrace and to ensure the safety of our community streets and roadways. In 2024, Corporal Labib completed an impressive 1,111 traffic stops, resulting in 439 citations, 662 written warnings, and numerous verbal interactions aimed at educating the public on traffic safety. He approaches each task with professionalism and dedication, handling these responsibilities without issue or complaint. His exceptional work ethic and commitment to building a stronger and safer community are evident in all that he does. Corporal Labib's significant contributions to the Temple Terrace Police Department, the City of Temple Terrace, and the law enforcement community are undeniable. For these reasons, Corporal Labib has been awarded the Thomas L. Lewis Law Enforcement Officer of the Year Award for his outstanding actions in 2024. So thank you very much. Corporal, would you like to say a few words?
I'm terrible with public speaking, so I'd rather not, but I will say something.
Just pretend you're pulling us over. You're apparently really good at that.
I just want to say thank you to the mayor, the council members, the city manager, as well as my coworkers. Well, some of them left, but the ones that are here, as well as chief and the administration as well for their support. Without you guys, all you guys, I wouldn't be able to do my job, so thank you.
Well, Corporal, to do almost 1,200 traffic stops and not generate complaints is incredible. That just, for the public who's watching and who are here, people are normally not happy when they get pulled over, right? That's not a fun time. And so it really says a lot about you and the professionalism of the department to be able to accomplish that. And so the public notices what you do. We have a lot of support in this community for the police department, and it's not because of us, it's because of the things that you do. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
One more. Thank you.
One more, equally as impressive, Lieutenant Chris Stayers. Oh, wait a minute, Chief, you want to introduce this for us, please? Sure. I'm sorry. I'm going to let our fire chief, Ian Kemp, is here to introduce the item.
Thank you,
Forgive
Mayor.
me, this is a little new way of doing it this year, so I'm sorry.
I would like to say, one of those people Corporal Labib pulled over last year was my wife. And she said he was the nicest guy in the world. And she did not get a ticket because she was nice back. But Lieutenant Sayers, one of the difficult things that we do at the end of the year is try to figure out who the firefighter of the year is. And although we have 61 people in the fire department, you would think it'd be easy to do, but it's a difficult task. And prior to me becoming fire chief, the fire chief would take on that task and look at the accommodations, try to figure out who that candidate would be for that year. We decided that we would put out a poll, kind of a survey monkey, to all the people in the field that really knew what our people did. And you think you know what everybody's doing out in the field, but when you're in office most of the day, sometimes it's hard to judge. And this year it was somebody similar that we thought would be a good firefighter of the year candidate, and it ended up being Chris Sayers. Chris Sayers has done above and beyond. One of the reasons is why he's a lieutenant today. He helps out with our annual awards banquet. He helps out with the benevolent. As you may know, he's also the union president, which is a thankless job 90% of the time. And if you talk to our medical director, he's one of the best paramedics we have in the field. So again, you talk about no complaints and just condolences and admiration. That's who Chris Sayers is, and that's what we get, the kind of feedback we get from our residents and visitors of City of Temple Terrace. So I couldn't be more proud to announce this year's Firefighter of the Year is Lieutenant Chris Sayers.
Thank you, Chief. Lieutenant. Not yet. All right, you're going to be doing squats because we got to do this again. Where'd he go?
He's right there.
Oh, there he is. Come on up. You moved. Lieutenant, thank you for being here. And I'll tell you, this is an honor in any department, but one that you are selected by your peers. I can't think of any higher distinction than to be selected by your peers. That goes beyond, it's great when we recognize you and the chief and the command staff, but when your peers recognize you, you got to be doing something really special. So, Lieutenant Chris Sayers is truly dedicated to the City of Temple Terrace and the citizens he serves. He began his career with the Temple Terrace Fire Department in January of 2013 and was promoted to lieutenant in November of 2021. He proudly serves on the Honor Guard and is the president of the Temple Terrace Professional Firefighters, IAFF Local 2160. Lieutenant Sayers has distinguished himself by consistently going above and beyond in all aspects of his position. His compassion, professionalism, and respect for our citizens and visitors are evident both on and off duty. In addition to his daily responsibilities, Lieutenant Sayers actively supports the fire department's events, including the annual open house, the awards banquet, by producing a year in review video presentation. Lieutenant Sayers is recognized for demonstrating exceptional leadership skills in guiding his team through challenging situations and fostering a positive and cohesive working environment. His dedication to service and professionalism in handling emergencies and firefighting situations attests to his commitment to excellence. For his unwavering dedication, exemplary leadership, and commitment to the City of Temple Terrace, its citizens, and many coworkers, I'm very proud to announce that Lieutenant Christopher Sayers has been awarded the 2024 Firefighter of the Year. Now, let's do Lieutenant, would you like to say a few words?
Sure, absolutely. For anybody that doesn't know, I come from an extraordinarily large family. My parents had 14 children. I have 6 brothers, 7 sisters. So I have a good idea prior to coming here what a close, large family feels like. My experience over the past year, we've been through some pretty good times, some pretty tumultuous times, and then some pretty hard times toward the end of the year. And one of the consistent things that I saw in this department is what brought me here, what kept me here, and what makes me want to stay here until I retire is family. I truly saw people loving together. I saw people working together. I saw people serving together, crying together, laughing together. I saw a family, and I'm truly honored to be part of that family, not just at the department level, but at the city level. We obviously had quite a bit of interaction with the with the city this year, and the cooperation, the coordination, the sheer cooperation level was, and professionalism when dealing with something as difficult as a contract, for us to, everybody to come out the other side of it happy and smiling and getting through what we got through last year. It's an enormous honor to be standing here today with this award. I imagine everybody that gets this award doesn't feel like they deserve it, but I'm not alone in that. But it is an honor nonetheless, and I can't say enough about the City of Temple Terrace, the Temple Terrace Fire Department, and my fire department family. So, thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
One more. 1 second. Go. Thank you.
See your family, so we'll get them up from there.
That was the first thing they said. Did we get to meet the mayor?
Asked if I could meet the firefighter of the year, so.
This is Wendy.
Hi, Wendy. Olivia, that's a very pretty one. Get the picture next to your dad here. Uh-oh, go a little bit more.
Okay, one more. Hold on. Okay, thank you.
That award, this.
Bro.
Alrighty. Next up, we have a presentation from the Planning Commission regarding a comprehensive plan update. I think our executive planner, Unica Mills from the Planning Commission is here. Good evening, Ms. Mills. And others?
Yes.
I hear some promotions have been made over there. Congratulations to both of you.
Yes, good evening, Unica Mills Planning Commission staff. Thank you all for having us here this evening to present on the Temple Terrace Comprehensive Plan Update process. Again, with me, I do have this evening Sean College, who is our Chief of Planning and Operations, and I believe he has a few words that he would like to say.
Good evening, Mr. College. Long time since we've seen you here.
Yeah, I'm excited to be back. It's always great to be here in Temple Terrace. I love it here. Love the food. I'm going to go get something after this. Thank you for having us. Let me just do a quick introductory remarks. Appreciate you guys having us here tonight. to talk about the update of the Temple Terrace Comprehensive Plan. The Planning Commission, as you know, performs long-range planning services for Temple Terrace as well as the other jurisdictions. We take our job very seriously. We understand the importance of the comprehensive plan and what it means to a community. We also understand that your comprehensive plan is somewhat dated and is showing its age, and we're going to rectify that. We're going to bring it to the modern age. We're going to make it a modern plan for Temple Terrace. It wasn't too long ago, myself, our executive director, Melissa Zornita, and several of our senior staff came to City Hall on a work day and met with your city manager and his staff, and we started the dialogue about what are the issues, what are the strengths, what are the things that need to be addressed as we go forward in Temple Terrace. So we opened up the dialogue. We're going to keep that dialogue going. We're going to make sure it's an inclusive process with not only the staff, but with the city council and the mayor involvement in the update of the plan, as well as the citizens. We pride ourselves on outreach to the community and having meetings in the community and make sure all the residents have a chance to be a part of the process. So I just wanted to make those introductory remarks, and we're looking really forward to working with all of you on this process. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our staff to tell you a little bit more about it.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. College.
Additionally, with me this evening, I have Melissa Dickens, who is the Division Director for our Strategic Planning and Environmental and Research. And once I finish my portion of the presentation, Melissa will be coming up to give an overview of the visioning process for the Comprehensive Plan update. And she'll also be covering a little bit about the overall process of the update. So just to give you an overview of the comprehensive plan, basically the comp plan is a long-term planning document that serves as a roadmap for the future of the city. The plan also informs the land development code for the city. As a long-range planning tool, it's intended for use by staff, decision makers, as well as citizens to direct growth and physical development of the community. We plan for about 20 years out, and typically we update the plan every 5 to 10 years. So the last update for Temple Terrace was in 2016, so we're right on the brink of that time frame. Again, the last update was in 2016. Again, it's typically updated every 7 to 10 years. In the current comprehensive plan for the city of Temple Terrace, there's 12 sections, 28 goals, 155 objectives, and 576 policies, totaling 270 pages. As far as the general framework of the current comprehensive plan, the general framework of the plan is comprised of an introduction, 4 major components which combined represent the city as a whole: people, places, natural spaces, and governance. These 4 components are representative of the fundamental growth management elements. And of course, we have a future land use which guides the development. We have environmental sections, recreation, open space, and you can see the other sections of the current comprehensive plan listed there. As part of this planning commission, the update process, Planning Commission also takes into considerations population as well as employment projections when we undergo an update, which helps to inform and shape policy direction for the policies that comprise the comprehensive plan. So from 2015 to 2024, as you can see from this slide, population grew by 7% and employment by 37%. And population is expected to grow through 2050, it's expected to increase by 26%, and employment is expected to grow by 22% for Temple Terrace. I'm now going to turn it over to Melissa Dickens. She's going to go over the visioning process and some of the update process.
Thank you, Ms. Mills. Welcome, Ms. Dickens.
Thank you so much. It is always a pleasure to come up here. I used to come up here for the annual CIP reviews, so it's nice to see you all again. Appreciate you having us. So I'm going to go over some of the nuts and bolts of what we're going to be working on the comprehensive plan update, starting with the vision. The vision is really the foundation for the comprehensive plan update. And for us, it's really critical because it's our opportunity to connect with the citizens about what they would like to see for the future. So a vision can be a shared community perspective on the ideal future. So what would the community like to see in 2050? That document then serves as a guiding document throughout the comprehensive plan update. It's usually a pretty general, pretty high level, but a statement or set of statements that we use to refer back to set the foundation for the policies within the plan. There is a vision today. There's a vision and a vision map. We'll be working with the community, you all, and different stakeholders to update those items. And then we'd want the updated vision to be something that's really has input from all to have a shared perspective about the future vision. And so just this slide is pretty basic, but you know, we really want to emphasize how much public input is important in this process. If there's folks here who are interested in participating, we want to give them a heads up that it's coming. We'll then incorporate the public input for you all to review and formally approve a vision. You know, we want to make sure that you all agree with what we've put forward for the community, and then it will serve as again, a guidepost for us to point to throughout the process and make sure that what we're drafting in the various sections that Yanika mentioned is consistent with the vision. And so now I'm going to go into a little bit more about the overall update process. This is governed by state statute, chapter 163. There are required elements or sections of comprehensive plans, and we have some optional elements. And for us, you know, as Yanika mentioned, the comp plan was last updated in 2016. That was really more of a reorganization. We were trying to fix things that we knew were issues, but we haven't taken a real deep dive in a while. So this is a good opportunity for us to look at the plan, find out, you know, what are the topic gaps, what are the emerging themes that we're seeing, what are some issues that you all are facing, and then also I know Yanika had the slide about the breadth of the comprehensive plan, and we want to make sure we retain those important components, but there might also be some opportunities for streamlining, maybe reducing anything that could be condensed, and then organizing it in a way that makes sense for the community. We plan on having regular touch points with you all, coming before you in workshop format, sharing information, also with our planning commission, and then of course the community. So we want to make sure that there's lots of opportunities for input, there's iterative updates, there's multiple opportunities for folks to weigh in. We'll also be coordinating with your staff, with the planning staff, and then also folks who are the technical experts on the various subjects. So folks who might be more of an expert in water or wastewater or parks. We want to make sure that the comprehensive plan is working with the issues that they're facing and is a tool for folks who work in this community. And then a little bit about what we have planned for public engagement and outreach. We just received word that we'll be partnering with the University of South Florida, their Master of Urban and Regional Planning program, to help us develop a public engagement plan. We think this will be a really great opportunity to have the students help us shape what the engagement process looks like. USF is, of course, close to this community. There's a lot of ties, so we're excited about that partnership. Usually we have different stakeholders participate in the process, neighborhood organizations, the development community, different folks who are interested in sharing their perspective and how the comprehensive plan impacts their work. We also will be advertising this information through our channels, as well as we'd like to partner as much as possible with the city to get the word out. We'll have project pages that share additional information about the plan. We plan on having multiple meeting formats, both virtual and in person. So, if people can only, if they only have capacity to log in for a virtual meeting, we still want to make sure that we have that opportunity to share information, or if people want to come out, get together with their neighbors, this is also an opportunity to do that. Then we will start the more formal plan amendment process. So this schedule that's up on the screen is kind of our typical schedule. There are some additional touch points that we plan on building in with this board as well as the community, but it occurs over several months, and we plan on working with USF in the fall on the public engagement plan, and then really getting down to the nuts and bolts in 2026. So we are very much looking forward to this process, and we are all available if there are any questions or you have any comments you'd like to share with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Dickens. Council members, Councilmember Fernandez.
So I have a question for you that when we look at projects that come before council, we get the verification that it's consistent with our land use documents and that as laid out by our planning documents. If we go through this process, and if somebody comes before us and their project is inconsistent, we have to go through the process to amend it or somehow either deny their project or find a way to make the project work. So if we go through this process and we actually make changes to the document, can we just change land use designation by going through this process, or would we need to have hearings if we decide to make changes?
Yeah, so I can start out answering that, and then if I miss something or Ms. Mills wants to jump in. But essentially, usually when we do these major updates, we focus on the text. So we focus on, okay, what does this policy say? How can we strengthen it? How can we make it work better for Temple Terrace? The map amendment process would be slightly different. It would be what you're describing. We could go back and discuss the opportunity for proactive map amendments, but right now we're more focused on the text, getting the text right, and then the map amendments would be a separate process.
Okay, and when you talk about the anticipated 26% growth in population, how did you all calculate that?
I'm going to ask Sean to help with that response since he's a little more familiar with that. Thank you.
We have an economist who does demographics and looks at the projections from the census and the Bureau of Economic and Business Research, and it looks at the land and what's available, what could be redeveloped. There's some land based on the structure value and the land value. There's an assumption that it may redevelop at some time in the future. We are talking about 20 plus years, 25 years into the future. So it's an estimate, and it's our the best estimate we have right now. And but we do revise those numbers every few years. So it's a moving target. And just to add a little bit on the last question. This is an opportunity, your comprehensive plan is adopted, both the policies and the land use designations, the land use map is an adopted document. So to amend it has to go through a process. This is a process we're going to amend it comprehensively. We're going to look at everything that you want to look at and that we think needs to be updated, both policies. It can be land use changes. Also, land use changes can be done, 4 times a year. We can, if you all see an issue, we don't have to wait for a major update to address it. We can address it, now if it's a significant issue that like in terms of redevelopment or revitalizing a community, we can certainly do it before the major update.
Okay, so when we are talking about public outreach, what will we be asking the public to give us in terms of their comments or their input?
The comprehensive plan is comprehensive. Deals with everything, water, wastewater, recreation, environments, and land use. So we would ask him all those things. What are you finding in your community? What are the strengths? What are the weaknesses? Where do you like to see Temple Terrace go in the next 25 years? Are you trying to make bring more people to your community? Are you trying to keep it stable? Are you trying to grow certain areas, redevelop certain areas? So all those things. So we just take we don't want to limit the input. We want to bring it all in, share it with you all, and then see, where do we go with what your comprehensive plan says now, and what we want to say in the future.
That's it.
I'm not sure who was first. Vice Mayor?
Go ahead.
Vice Mayor Schisler?
Fine. Whatever. Hi. Saw you early today. Thanks for coming by. I'm not trying to get into an economic debate when I'm asking these questions, just to sort of preface it. I note that the population growth was much slower than employment growth from 2015 to now, according to the slide 3. Going forward to 2050, population is going to grow faster than employment. So what my question is to you is, what implications does that have for the comprehensive plan from your perspective at this stage? Can you answer that at all at this early phase?
I don't think, off the top of my head, it's problematic. Again, I think it's where does the city want to go? Are you targeting employment? Are you targeting, commercial development? Do you want more commercial development? Are you comfortable with the level you have now? Are you targeting more residential development? These are choices that you can make in your comprehensive plan with regard to land use and zoning and policy. So I don't think either of those are really problematic from a standpoint. They're just choices. I think you can have a healthy city either way.
Yeah, and I think I just want to add, I think that, because I too was looking at those statistics and a little bit curious about it, and I think it had to do with an annexation of a major jobs, I believe it was the Amazon center that was annexed into Temple Terrace. So that's why those numbers look so dramatically different. I had the exact same question, like why is this happening? But it was because of that annexation in that time period.
I think the VA hospital probably contributed to that
Yeah.
too.
Thank you very much
Yeah.
for that. So does that mean that these numbers are specific to Temple Terrace, these projections? Oh, that's fascinating. So we can
Sure.
still take an influence on whether we want to prioritize, for example, growing the population through additional housing units, or if we want to focus on commercial development to try and bring more jobs and more economic development into the city, which could skew those numbers in either direction still.
Correct.
Okay. And I have one more question, if I may, about the public input. Are we going to be consulted as you get the public input? Because I note that it is in a phase prior to when you're going to consult with City Council.
So we typically, we will go out to the community. Here, we typically have a survey that is short and easy to fill out and, user-friendly. And we hear from a number of folks. We read through all of the different comments, different people. Some people might be concerned about mobility or biking or parks or, we heard a lot about great things about trees, tree protection. So we then look at all the comments. We make all the comments available on our website so that folks can look and read through. And we read through them and categorize them into different themes. So ultimately, all of the comments will include in any sort of backup. We can share them with you as, when we close the survey, we'll make it publicly available. And then we'll come back to you all with kind of our summary. And then you all can tell us, I feel like I saw a lot of this, I didn't see it up here. So there will be an opportunity to shape that.
But not prior to it being presented to us.
No, we can put the all of our survey results as soon as we have them. We can we can make those available online.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Because I think it's important to sort of take the people along as those inputs come in and reach out to the community so that they can give additional, depending on what inputs you get, you might trigger certain people
Yeah.
to get involved, right? And so you might see as you progress in that as you activate certain sensitive topics, you might get a flood of input on that one topic that you wouldn't have gotten if it had been kept under wraps until it were brought to the city council, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so what I talked about a little bit was the vision, like the initial phase, but then really, and I'm basing this off of larger communities, Tampa, the unincorporated county. We heard a lot on the vision, and then we heard a lot on our recommendations. So the recommendations will release before they come to you all. And we typically hear a lot of thoughts and comments in that process as well before we even start drafting the goals, objectives, and policies.
Okay, thank you very much. This is going to be very exciting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
Yes, thank you. Good. Thank you for the presentation. Very, very interesting. You already answered the timeline. Going to start in 26. About how long do you anticipate it taking?
So it kind of depends. It depends what level throughout the process we want, how many iterations of public engagement, how many recommendations and revisions you all want, how many times you want us to come to you. I would say from the initial visioning until we have the actual changes to you all, it would be at least a year. Just to give us enough time to go through that engagement, and then it starts the plan amendment process.
The final question I have then is really more of a comment, but we're going to be, we are concurrently reviewing many of our ordinances. Many of them are land use development ordinances, and we just want to make sure that as we do this, you're incorporating them into your plan so that we don't come back and say, whoops, we now violate what the plan was, so that the coordination between the two governmental entities is going to be critical, so that we're not stepping on each other's toes going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. We're running into that we're running into it in a good way with the city of Tampa right now, because they're also updating their code. So we have standing meetings with them to make sure, hey, here's what we're proposing. What we're proposing, we always share with our client government partners before we finalize it or we go out with recommendations, because we want to make sure that the comprehensive plan is helpful and not that it's, something that is going to run afoul to something that they're working on.
That's good. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Ms. Dickens, I have a couple of questions, and they're all kind of related to the same thing, so I think I'm going to drop maybe 3 questions on you at once, because if you answer one, you're kind of probably...
There's 3 of us.
Yeah. So 3 things I have written down together, and one is a few years ago, the Planning Commission undertook a study of the Fowler Avenue corridor with with Hillsborough County and with Tampa. The previous administration in Temple Terrace opted not to participate in that. I wish that had been done differently, but I can't roll back the clock. However, the results of that study are going to be very interesting and very revealing, and kind of be guiding for us in terms of, there's an invisible line at 52nd Street where Tampa stops and Temple Terrace starts. And so the same is true of Bush Boulevard, although I'm not aware of a study going on there. But that kind of falls into my next question, and you kind of alluded to this. How are we, in timing-wise, related to Tampa's revisiting of their comp plan and Hillsborough counties? Because we are really geographically fairly small and surrounded by larger jurisdictions, and then throw in the middle of that we have USF also. And so it would be really ill-advised of us to isolate ourselves and make update our new comprehensive plan in a vacuum without some eye on what's going. If Tampa and Hillsborough on both sides of us are growing in a different way than we envision, there needs to be some dialogue, not just with the Planning Commission, but with Tampa and Hillsborough too. There needs to be a regional approach to this. And that brings me to my last question, is the collaboration with Hillsborough County and Tampa on this. I certainly think the stakeholder groups that you mentioned, the citizen input, are obviously a positive piece of this. But because of our geographic size relating to our immediate neighbors, I think it's critically important that there be some discussion directly with them as to, okay, what's the county envision for the 301 corridor that runs on the east side of actually it runs right through it, because we have some stuff on the other side. What's the county development plan for that corridor, and what's the city's plan for Bush Boulevard? I mean, Bush Boulevard is kind of trending the wrong way, and certainly not trending the way we'd like it to. Fowler Avenue, I think, I believe is going to trend the right way, but it's got a long way to go. And in terms of this region, I truly believe that over the course of the next decade that this is going to be the region that experiences the most redevelopment or the most growth or downtown has been the thing, right? Channelside, Water Street has all been, the River Walk, Armature Works, all that has kind of been the thing. And I think that's going to continue to evolve. But that's kind of already happened. And there's a lot of work in Ybor with Darrell Shaw. There's going to be a lot of development there. But I think the next big section of the county is going to be the Fowler Avenue corridor with Mosey, the football stadium, the golf course at USF, our downtown. I think this is going to be the energy center for the next 10 years. And so how do we do this in collaboration with our big neighbors?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail right on the head. Fowler Avenue is a perfect example of where there's the three jurisdictions coming together. There's lots of activity. There's lots of excitement. So for Fowler Avenue specifically, I can mention this because I was working on the Tampa Comprehensive Plan, which we're going to public hearing at the Planning Commission and City Council next month for the future land use section, and it incorporates the recommendations from the Fowler Vision Study, which is the study that you mentioned. One of the things that we'd like to do in the initial part of this process, I didn't mention it in the presentation because it's kind of behind the scenes, but we want to look at all the plans that are affecting either Temple Terrace, there's, I believe, a mobility plan happening up here, or immediately adjacent. So how can we look at what's already been done and bring that into the conversation? And then, yeah, absolutely, right, some of the issues that we encounter or the growth that doesn't stop necessarily at a specific line. It's something that affects everyone. Everyone has perhaps similar strategies for dealing with it or maybe different. And so I think you're really correct in that it's important to make sure that we're all rowing in the same direction. We would certainly be happy to facilitate a conversation with folks outside of the Planning Commission to have that conversation. We also we have liaisons to each of, Yanika being one of them, liaisons to each of the local governments. So we will make sure to bring them in early in terms of, hey, what issues are happening up here that you're aware of, and they can bring in the appropriate staff, because you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and I mean, it's completely correct. I'll just elaborate a little bit. I think you make an excellent point, and we can be that conduit. We talk on a daily basis with the planners at Tampa, with the planners at Hillsborough County. So, and this is great input, because we're already shaping how we're going to go about this because of the input you just gave us. And we'll make sure that we open that dialogue with regard to what they want to see for those corridors as part of the process.
I really think that dialogue, I'm not sure how this would look, but I think it needs to go beyond just Unica talking to the Tampa liaison and talking to, I don't know if that's a joint council meeting between their city council and ours and the commission. I don't know how that would look, but a first step with that would be can you share with us the Fowler Avenue Vision Study? I didn't know it was done. I haven't seen it. I've been waiting for it to come out. And I can share that with everybody, or you can share it with our community development department and they can put it out. But, and then the county's, plans also. And I think before we get too far with that, we really need to look at what's happened regionally. And that brings me to my final point, so I'll let you get down. But having seen a lot of these surveys that are done through the TPO, and I mean, we do this at the TPO also, as you well know, a lot of times you get better results if the public can be informed of what, if you can place the survey in its context. Like if you just go out and cold survey people, you got to kind of tell them a little bit about the world that we live in 2025 or 2026. Like, okay, this is where the state is going. This is what the state is expecting to see in terms of in migration, job growth. Our education centers are pumping out talent. That's why jobs are coming here. What are the regional trends? Because if you just pull somebody off the street, they're going to say, well, I don't want to build anything. I just want to go back to 1960. And they don't know that this is where the region, what the trends are. And, you got to distill that a little bit into something that people are going to read, because if you give them a 300-page economic report, But if you could begin the survey with some kind of introduction or a video or something to say, look, these are some of the trends since COVID, because everything's changed since 2016. The world's different. And, you know, housing trends have changed. The commute time data that we get has changed. Demographic data, what's happening in Pasco County affects us. What's going on in Riverview affects us. So, I mean, putting this in context might help people to say, I know what's going on now around us. What I want to do is see Temple Terrace stand apart from some of that. Or, you know, how can we leverage some of that? We need to grow, or we don't need to grow, or, you know.
Yeah. Set up the context, I understand.
Yeah, no, you're hitting all great, wonderful points. We would have, I think a video is a really good idea. We did that with the city of Tampa, and we found that that was really powerful in terms of not only getting people to understand a little bit better, but also sharing it, you know, sharing the video online. We also, you know, really want to leverage as many opportunities as possible. So if there's, like, for example, a Rotary meeting or there's a neighborhood association meeting, we are happy and available to come and, you know, give a brief presentation about what we're seeing, about the trends that you mentioned, so that people have the context, you know, and then we ask them to fill out the survey and share it with their neighbors and their friends. And we find that a lot of times that going to where the people already are, as opposed to trying to set up a separate meeting on it, is really effective. You know, you get people who are already gathered, they're already, you know, together, and we can go and share a little bit, very brief presentation, and ask them. They can even pull out their phones with a QR code, take the survey right there. So there's a lot of different strategies to provide that context that you reference.
Thank you. Council members, any final thoughts? Yes,
I do. So along the lines of what the mayor has mentioned, my question really had to do with how will we get the input request out to people? And is there a way that you would come to this council with a small presentation, or the presentation that you would put on your website, and then make that presentation here, put out the information about how you would get to the survey, and then we, through our communication avenues, can start actually promoting that as well.
Yeah, that would be ideal. You know, as many ways that we can reach the public, the better. And you know, you all have a great, Temple Terrace is such a great local community. I have a bunch of friends that live up here. You know, people really know each other. So any way that we can get out the communication through the city's channels as well, we'd love to partner or see whatever might be possible with the comm staff or social media.
That's it.
Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Unique. Good to see everybody. You can come visit once in a while. You don't have to have a comp plan update. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. Okay, council, the next item is the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Council. There are 3 regular appointments. There are 3 vacancies on the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Council. The city received 2 applications for reappointment from current members, and an alternate member has applied for a regular term. So the 3 applicants are Brett Buffington, Austin Peterson. Those are both current members, and the 3rd alternate member who's applied for the regular position is Eric Sievers. And so I don't see any of them here. So is there a motion?
I'll motion to approve the 3 applicants, Brent Buffington, Austin Peterson, Eric Sievers, to the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Council.
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion of the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays? Very good. Next is a Municipal Code Enforcement Board appointment. There's 1 regular member vacancy on the MCEB. We received 1 application from Mr. Bill Snelling to be reappointed. I do not see Mr. Snelling here. Is there a motion to approve Mr. Snelling?
Go ahead. Move to approve the reappointment of Bill Snelling as regular member of the Municipal Code Enforcement Board, term extending from April 15, 2025 to April 15, 2028.
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion of the motion. If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays? Please thank Mr. Snelling for his service. Next, council, has everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes of our April 1st meeting? And if so, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion or corrections to the minutes? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays. The minutes are adopted. Persons wishing to be heard on items not listed on the agenda or items on the consent agenda. There are forms in the back of the room. There's a 3-minute time limit imposed on each speaker. We ask that they come to the podium, state their name and city of residence. I currently have one request to speak from Mr. Loeb. Mr. Loeb, you're recognized, sir.
My name is Charles Loeb of Terrace Park, and I want to talk about April 19th, 2025, which is this Saturday. Now, of course, April 19th, as many of you might know, is part of the religious holidays of both Jews and Christians within the period. It also has some Earth Day events that are involved. But the thing I have mostly in mind about Saturday, April 19th, 2025, is that it's the 250th anniversary of the Battle of Lexington and Concord. For those of you who maybe don't remember that or don't remember reading about that. The point being is that when the founders of this nation came along was to a commitment to the future of our nation. Certain things are bothering me that I do want to bring up that I hope would be an improvement for the future toward this commitment that they made in Lexington and Concord and the founders did 250 years ago. First of all, is getting millennials involved into government. They have to be able to make decisions that are going to impact their future. I actually wrote the elections department about this last year because at the time I wrote it was Biden against Trump, and I think younger people needed to be involved. That's number one. Number two is having to do with Earth Day coming up, and of course your Arbor Day, and that has to do with the environment. And that's we have a choice within the environment, and that is to either alleviate problems or aggravate them in the future. But if we follow the advice in some of the literature, we might be able to at least alleviate some of them. My third point has to do with, and I'm still thinking back in March when those nice folks from the mosque came over, about doing an event, or perhaps on May 3rd, doing an event together with them between Jews, Christians, and Muslims. And that is, or even having something going on where we all can enjoy each other's company. As a matter of fact, over at Writers Club, I rather have kind of a platonic friendship with a woman who has an Arab Christian background. And a Jewish man doesn't seem to bother her, so her background doesn't seem to bother me. And I think this is the type of things, as I mentioned to her, that would help build the future. And finally, the other thing I'm concerned about is about their health care and retirement money when they get to the future. Obviously, we can't assure that, but what we can do is point it out to them. If we're entitled to having retirement money and health care benefits, so are they. They're putting in a lot of money. And I could give you a lot of statistics of why it is so much harder for them than it is in FDR's day. But the point being is these 4 points do concern me, and I was thinking even not only about this religious thing I'm just going to finish this thought, and that is to have a survey done, see how the young people feel about and whether they expect to have retirement money available for them or not.
Thank you, Mr. Loeb. Okay.
I can answer that. We don't expect to have any retirement money.
Well, you're in the majority, but I'm hoping some other people will feel differently.
Me too.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No nays. Consent agenda is adopted. Any carryover council business? Council members?
I have one item.
Yes, ma'am. Councilmember Fernandez.
And this was from goal setting, but I realized afterwards I didn't feel like I had expressed myself clearly enough. So I just wanted to, when we were talking about a document retention, improving our document retention process, I wasn't referring to inviting interns in to actually manage it. I was thinking more about interns helping us convert from whatever our current retention mediums are into a system that would be so I didn't want to if there is a way to bring in somebody, because that's more like data conversion, and that's what I was thinking about. There would be potential room for interns or a USF student who might be studying data retention to actually help navigate the process, not maintain the records afterwards. So anyway, that's my only carryover.
Okay, thank you. Any other carryover council business? Any new business or board reports?
I got a board report. You go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I have a couple of things, and I guess I'm not sure if I should bring them up now or the city manager's report, but one is just council business, I guess, and that has to do with bulk communication to constituents, because we talked a little bit about that we would have to actually take personnel and allot them to managing any kind of communication that we might use if we were going to use social media or anything. But right now, council doesn't really have a way to do any bulk communication to the community. And I didn't know what the rest of council thought about it, but I can reply to an email at a time, or I can reply to, or someone can call me, or I can talk to people, but that's all on an individual basis. I mean, I know a long time ago when I was on council the first time where we had office hours, and sometimes people would come during your office hours, but usually not. But I guess in conjunction with exploring methods for the city to be able to, I don't want to say improve, I think the staff is doing everything that they can do, but maybe find a better way that between the council and the city staff that we can reach more people at once.
Well, we could ask, I mean, if this council wants to, we could ask for a report on giving all the council members a social media, or those who want it, a social media account hosted by the city, and find out what all that entails, if that's what this body wants to do. I don't really want that, but that's just me, and it wouldn't be, but, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts to that, but I don't pretend to know all of them. I went to a presentation on this at a conference, but it's obviously public records. There's things that would need to be done, and they would touch IT, records retention, and marketing would touch all three of those. So, but that's up to the body if you want to explore that.
Well, and I'm not necessarily, I mean, I understand that would be staff time and expense. So I'm not necessarily promoting that, but I'm asking basically if anybody has ideas that would be cost effective and yet still enable council members to reach larger numbers of people. If there's something that I mean, it hasn't happened very often to me that I feel the need to put a position out or something about something. I usually say what I need to say here, and then if there is a situation where I feel like I need everybody to know what my thoughts are on this. I feel like I've been covered here, but I feel like there's also a lot of people that aren't watching these meetings, even as they're playing over again. And then we do get a lot of comments in other areas. Let's just take Temple Terrace Bulletin Board as an example. There will be a lot of comments or concerns expressed about something, but it's not the position the council took, or or the council discussed it and decided to do something different. But there's no way and I'm okay if the city staff responds but I feel like we just have a very hard time getting to a large number of people at once, and that's all.
Vice Mayor?
It's a slippery slope, okay? I mean, we've been advised time and time again by our city attorney that I don't want you talking for me on internet, okay? I don't want anybody talking for me on the internet. If I have a position, we have very clear sunshine rules, sunshine laws. We say it in open session so that everybody knows, excuse me, where the comments and thoughts are coming from. I don't, if somebody has a question, they'll ask me. And if they'll ask me for my position, and I'll be glad to do that on a one-on-one basis. I don't believe in huge mass emails. Too many things could go wrong with that. I did one during a campaign, and I only had one or two negative comments on it, on a campaign ad piece that I did, but things can go badly wrong with that approach. I think we need to listen to our city attorney as far as the city email position that we've talked about time and time again. If I see something on Facebook, I call the city. I call Mr. Bayer or whoever is involved with it. A lot of times people on Temple Terrace Bulletin Board aren't from Temple Terrace. Okay, so we're spinning our wheels on that. And I also thought that we had decided during the goal setting that the administration was going to come back with some alternatives for mass communication, that you guys were looking at some stuff.
That's for emergencies.
Huh?
That's for emergencies.
Well, I thought that was for other information too, just emergencies? Okay, whatever. Okay, but I don't know that we can do anything at this point. I think it's going to create ourselves more issues than it'll solve, other than whatever we're trying to accomplish on an individual basis.
And I want to make sure I'm very clear about this. There's never a time when I think that I would speak for the council. What I'm talking about is when there was a discussion at council and there was a vote. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying council didn't vote that direct, or council voted yes on that, or council voted no on that, but I wouldn't speak for anyone else's opinion.
And I understand, I'm not saying you would, but the potential for, Council Member Fernandez said it was this, so they all must think that. Okay, the perception happened one time, and it's a mistake, and it's wrong. That's all.
I do have an idea for you to consider, and I don't know that anybody's close to this idea, but I think this is something you're going to have to figure out. We can't give it to staff to figure this out for you. There are many elected officials I know, here locally too, that do news bulletins, do a newsletter periodically. Some of them do them monthly, bi-weekly, whatever, they do it different times. I know several of the county commissioners do that because I'm on the receiving end of them. They do get distributed by email. And I get them, I still get them from former county commissioners, which I don't quite understand that. But there are ways to do this. Now, most of them that I'm aware of involve email or social media. The newsletters are much easier to archive, and it's much easier to control the distribution list. You can opt in, you can opt out, and if you send it on blind copy, you don't run the risk of, anybody, and you can send it to whoever you want. I mean, you can require people to subscribe, or you can just, you can't use city databases. You're going to have to get your own email addresses, right. But they're pretty easy to archive that because it's going out over the city email. That wouldn't be an issue at all. There are things you can do, and you're right. Other places are using social media, but it's hosted and preserved by the city, and the records are and if it's the body's decision that they want to explore this, we can ask staff to do that. But there need to be enough interest. I don't really want to be a slave to that. I can't. I'm lucky to check my email as it is. So, but that's just me. It could be other people want to do that, and we could explore that. But that's up to your colleagues here to say, yeah, I want that too. But I don't see anybody jumping on it. But a newsletter is something to consider. I don't see any reason. I mean, you'd have to work out the details with the city attorney and the marketing and all that. But it doesn't seem to me like that'd be that difficult to do. and then you would have the ability to do that.
Right.
There's also, as you alluded to, you know, if you wanted to have library hours or something,
Right.
I'm sure we could make space available to any one of us that, you know, if you want.
That's been done before.
Yeah, that's probably been done, yeah, yeah. So, I mean, there are ways, I appreciate what you're trying to do. But you'll have to figure out that kind of on your own, and then
Okay,
it
yes,
can be
I just thought I
done.
would bring it up.
It can be done.
My other items really are for the city manager. So I don't know, do you want me to just?
No, you got the floor.
Okay, all right, so, recently, we have been asked to look at a project which is Tampa Electric hardening the electrical grid, which is obviously an important, very important, since we know what happens when we don't have power for a long time. But what, my question to the city and to the council is, right now, our city staff, the process in place is that we look at easements and we look at various other, maybe conflicts with other utility services. And once those aspects are cleared, then the project is cleared to go. But I would like to ask if it's possible to add another component to that, and that's look at the design for also how does it fit into the space aesthetically, because I have nothing against electrical delivery, but the poles are very large. And when you're looking at putting something down smack in front of somebody's house, or, you know, where maybe there was a way that 3 feet away, it serves the exact same purpose, but it wasn't the most expedient A to B, but maybe it still fits within every parameter, and then it's not directly in the middle of an intersection, or, you know, that's what I'm talking about. And to, as an example, when they widened Fowler Avenue, the bridge across the river, but by the time it came in front of this body, it was a done deal. There were no changes to be made. And it was just early concrete construction. There was nothing aesthetically attractive about it at all. And since the plan was done, approved, everything, we were a formula, it was just formulatic for us to sign off on it. We couldn't make any changes. But then if you look at the river crossing on 40th Street, and you see that they put nice balustrades and they put more attractive lighting, you know, we didn't even have the opportunity to weigh in on that project. So that's a gateway to the city, and it's just a big, and I'm not saying anything about widening the road. I understand the need for it, but could we include some form with our function? And that's, so I just would like to ask that that's a consideration. Because by the time it comes to us, if it does come to council to approve it, it's signed and sealed, and there will be no changes made except under extreme circumstances, and it's too late at that point.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. So we'll look at that. We'll have to see what we're legally authorized to do or not, because we do have parameters. We're looking at, as you mentioned, Councilmember Fernandez, we're looking at the plan for is conflicts with our utilities and our infrastructure. Make sure that sidewalks aren't crushed by a pole they want to put there, or water mains or sewer mains, et cetera. So the aesthetic piece, it's tricky, because what you can see on a plan may not give you that full aesthetic view of what it'll look like once a 45-foot wooden pole is put on the street. But I will check to see what limitations how far we can push, and I'll report back to the council.
Okay. I mean, I'm just asking if we can, there's always form and function. Can we add form? So I appreciate that. And then my last item is, we have had several projects in the city that we've come before us, we've approved them, the site plans, all of it. And then those developers or contractors or whoever's have gone on to build them differently than the approved plans or add aspects that were not part of the approved plan. And I think this has happened 3 or 4 times now with projects. What can we do and I know you're going out and doing, I know the staff is doing inspections throughout the process based on whatever the construction is, but what can we do to help make sure that the plans that we have approved are the ones that are actually implemented? And even, it's not so much that I dislike what the change that someone may have made, but it should have come before us to make that change prior to just going ahead and doing it.
I agree. In fact, that's one of the reasons that you've seen some staff changes, because we're trying to tighten that process up. We're getting better traction with that. The incidents that you mentioned, I know of 2 of them particularly, were not great. They were caught by the city staff, but at that point they had made so much inroad that it was really hard to turn them around. Our goal is to not have that repeated. Mr. Pauly, in taking over community development, he knows that's one of the most important things, is instituting some policy controls, which he's already done with several directives down to the building division, particularly because they're the ones that are on the field mostly looking at this. So we are hopeful that some of these changes are gaining traction and that we will not have these incidents repeat themselves. Excuse me.
That's it for me.
Other new business. Councilmember Kravitz.
A couple reports. So I was at the River Board today. One of the members there brought to my attention that at Temple Terrace they didn't have a contact person, so I forwarded that over to the city manager, and he'll, I assume, put himself in touch with the lady so that we can strengthen our cooperation with the Port Authority. The TAC Board didn't have a quorum, and other than that, slight flag report. I just got a message that the constituent communication went out just now, this time in BCC, of course, with the NAVA guidelines being communicated to everyone. That's North American Vexillological Association, which we agreed at the previous meeting was going to be the baseline for what we were looking for in the submission. And just in terms of the submissions we've gotten, prior to those NAVA guidelines being communicated, we got 4 people who sort of jumped the gun and were so excited about it that they submitted. And of course there are the 22 old submissions from the previous round. And my understanding is, I've been trying to figure out who those people are and how to reach them, but so far staff hasn't turned anything up. So that's where we're at right now. We have the actual flags that have been submitted. Visually, they're on a file, but unfortunately there's no record of who those people are or how to reach them. So I was hoping that I could reach them, because I thought maybe if they submitted one time, they'd be interested in going on the second round. But I'm not able to do that, unfortunately. So that's my report.
How were they submitted? Was it a...
They were submitted to the previous social media coordinator / director gentleman, and he didn't keep those records. Let's just put it that way.
But they still would be in our email
wouldn't
if they
that
went
be
through email.
Wouldn't that be retrievable somehow?
Let me work on that? I've heard this before, this notation about that. Let me dig into that with IT and see if there's a way. I don't recall exactly if they all came in the same way, if they were by email or people submitted hard copies. I would assume mostly they were probably by email, but let me find out.
Could be anything, really. I mean, yeah.
Well, I thought there was an online portal that people submitted to.
It could be. Let me just dig into it.
Yeah. Okay. So that's where we're at on that.
Anything else, Councilmember?
No, sir.
Nothing?
No.
One quick thing, I know I sent this to you, I just want to make reference to it. Regarding USF and the football stadium, city manager and I have met twice with them over the period of a year or so. And then I kind of dropped off at the last meeting. We were hoping to get some response from that meeting. There were some open-ended things that they kind of were supposed to circle back with us. And we never heard. And so, as you know, I wrote a letter to President Law, kind of outlining some of our concerns. I can't remember all of them. Is parking in Pleasant Terrace was one of them. Noise was really high on the list, not from the football stadiums necessarily, but from the concerts. Speaker orientation, you know, which way are they going to be directing the sound? Our staff uncovered after the hurricane some concerns about the stormwater plan, those types of things. And I did finally get a response from her, but kind of somewhat disappointing. It was really kind of a generic response, not really satisfactory to our concerns. So I don't, at this point, I'm not sure what the next steps will be, because, you know, since then she's announced her retirement. There's a search on for her replacement. And it's hard to really even understand who's directing that project. I mean, there's so many people with a hand in it. The trustees have hands in it. The president, I don't even know how much of a hand. So it's hard to tell who's really driving the boat here. And so probably more to come on that, but if you have ideas or knowledge that you want to share with us at a future meeting under new business, I'd certainly welcome your ideas or input on that. So, and that's all I have. Are we done with new business and board reports? Okay, city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Got a few items. The first one is just trying to get some direction from council to make sure that we are doing something in the correct way, the way you'd like us to see it done. So it's relative to the council meeting agenda. So it's been past practice here that a council member can bring up new business, as you've done here this evening, during the new business portion of the agenda, or if there's ongoing business, you bring it up during the council business portion of the agenda for discussion. And typically, when that happens, you'll introduce the topic, you'll have a conversation about it. And if there's follow-up required, typically you'll either do it by consensus or you'll do it by motion. You know, for example, set a workshop or bring back a presentation or something like that. But there is no clear council rule on this. But that practice more or less falls in conformity with Robert's Rules of Order, which is the guideline that we use for sort of the procedure of the meetings. I mention this because recently we had an interest expressed for a council member to make a formal presentation using PowerPoint slides to the council. So I conferred with the city attorney and just tried to get direction. It's like, okay, how do I approach that in terms of the agenda? And what we concluded was that we'd follow this practice, which is, for example, under new business, the council member could bring it up for discussion. If the council wanted to entertain the notion of the presentation, they could do it by motion or by consensus. So that's where we left it. I don't know if that's the right way, the way you think it should be done or not, but that's the way that we saw it in terms of Robert's rules. So again, just trying to get some clarification from the council.
Council?
I have a question.
Councilmember Chambers.
So is this for like a formal presentation? Because like my next fun fact, I'm going to ask for a slide or two. Is it that part of it, or?
This was a request for a formal presentation to address something that had been touched upon in a prior meeting. And so there was, again, slides that were going to be presented.
Your
So
fun fact is it will already be on the agenda. So it's already
Okay, I
a
got it.
scheduled, regular agenda item. And
Another comment. So besides that, I know you're talking about that, but we also, you know, that's why if I want staff to do something over and above stuff for a project or anything, or I see a need, we bring it up here and you know, get a consensus for staff time, you know, projects for staff time. I know that's not what you're asking. When you first started, that's what I thought you were asking, but you're talking about an agenda item. But I don't think there's a clear rule we have on if I ask something from the city clerk that'll take 5 minutes or 10 years, what rule that is to bring it up before this group.
We do have a rule that limits the amount of time. If
I
you're
couldn't
giving
find a
somebody-
rule.
I believe if it's 4 hours or more of time.
Okay, all right, well, that's good to know. I looked up, anyway, that's what I thought you were going, so that's not, so I understand that, but.
Are you asking more about how a council member might put something on the agenda separate from the normal order of business?
Correct, because right now, if a member asks to have something on the agenda, it's not come up before, put it that way. If you want to have something on the agenda, typically, the way the council's done it here, since I've been here, is you bring it up during new business, you have a conversation about it, and then the council will direct, staff usually, okay, put this on the next agenda or schedule it for a future workshop or something else, or bring back a presentation, or follow up on some item. So that's usually how it's worked, which is kind of in line with the Roberts rules that we were trying to figure out a way to do it. So that's my conversation. I don't want to take away anybody's ability to have the discussion. I mean, obviously, you broach the discussion here every time we have a meeting. You start off a conversation about different things as you've done here this evening. It's just the next step in terms of making a formal presentation. That request was what was the difference.
There's something more than new business.
It could be new business, but it'd be new business and a presentation that somebody would like to make.
So it would probably, what you're saying is this would be something that would go on the agenda in presentations versus just coming up in new business?
It could be under presentations, not necessarily. I mean, presentations typically here, if you go back and you scan our council meetings for several years, usually they're benign community information, community groups, or things having to do with the centennial, things like that are usually our presentations.
So if I
Tonight
would,
we had one that was
like when
requested.
I call you and say, I think the Arts Council wants to do a presentation, I mean, I'm asking as the president kind of, but as a council member, so that's not what we're talking about.
No, in this case, it would, again, it's a direct request from a council member to do a presentation on a matter that the council has talked about in the past.
Well, that is, I'm sorry, you had the floor. Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay. That is how it's done on every board I'm on. The TPO, Tourism Development, Visit Tampa Bay, we always ask the body if we have a request to have a presentation made to us, or if we want to, I don't think I've ever asked to make a presentation, but if we bring up under new business, I think we should have a presentation by Hart or by whoever to come, or SwiftMud, to give us a presentation on the current state of the river, or DOT to talk about Fowler Avenue, whatever it is. But that's how it is. It's always been here since I've been on council, and it's also on every one of the county boards that I'm on. That's how we do it. The only exception to that, there is, I'm thinking when you're talking, there are people who will sometimes contact, and what comes to mind most recently was Cheryl Tomasino. Mrs. Tomasino called me and said, hey, I just closed on the property on Bullard Parkway. I'm going to be flying in from Ohio. I'm going to be here for a week or whatever. And it happened to fall on one council meeting night. And because it was Mrs. Tomasino and it was significant, I asked you to give her 15 minutes on under presentations. But that wasn't like the norm. I mean, that's a garden variety presentation. It's not like, should we, for instance, you brought up a couple times fluoride. I know that if the fluoride thing doesn't work at the state, you're asking council to schedule a presentation on fluoride. Yes. I've wondered if it's time to have Hart come again, but I was going to bring that up at some point with you and say, hey, should we have Hart come? So I don't know. I don't want to lose the ability. Red Cross will call me every couple of years and say, hey, I want to come and update our. I mean, I don't want to have to say, well, it'll take us 2 months because I got to ask council if I can have the Red Cross come.
I think this is different. What do you
think?
think?
It is. I just want to.
That it's a different situation. That this is a specific request by a council member to discuss a previous issue. Okay? And I think something like that, I believe, especially since we're not talking about Art and Blanc, or we're not talking about something that's going to, come down the pike. Just like I'm coming back to very shortly with a Hart Charter issue. I expect that to be noticed and advertised so that people can, can send that, and I will bring that to council prior, so council knows it, so council can say, okay, fine, let's put it on the next agenda, so everybody can be noticed. I think when we do something like that, we have a notice issue that we need to advertise it, especially if it's an item before council, so that any of the public has an opportunity to come address it. That'd be my concern with it. But, it's a two-step process, and come in, I want to make a presentation on X, Y, Z, and yes, and then can you put in we can request to be put on the agenda, that it's on the agenda, it's notified, and everybody should be happy with it. And we're adhering to Robert's rules as best we can, and the public is notified. Just my thoughts on it.
Certainly agree with the Vice Mayor that if you go through the required notice and you put it in through the formal process, it shouldn't be an issue. And if Councilmember Fernandez would like to speak on fluoride or any other issue, then she has the right to do so, in my opinion.
I think during council business, the way we're doing this, I think council members ought to be able to bring up anything that they would like to bring up.
That's what I
So-
don't understand, is that's what council business is for.
Yeah, and if it includes, for my purposes, if it includes some, PowerPoint slides versus a formal presentation, to me, maybe a formal presentation about something that council is going to be voted on, you bring it up during council business and say, I'd like to have this on the next agenda. And
That's
then,
what we're saying.
That's what
Yeah,
we're saying, put it on the next agenda.
But the council the body gets to decide whether they want to put that on the next agenda or not. Council business, you don't have any advance notice. You can bring up, any one of us can bring up anything we want under council business or new business. You don't have to have anything for that. That's the purpose of that section of the meeting. But to make a presentation during that needs to come and say, hey, folks, I want to make a presentation at the next meeting about fluoride.
Exactly.
And the body needs to decide whether they want to do, that's just exactly what you did.
Yes.
You did it twice. You was like, hey, I want to do this. And we all said, if this fails in Tallahassee, we're going to be supportive of your request. But you didn't just show up with a slide deck of fluoride and,
There's been times we've done that before. An issue comes up, well, let's put it on the next agenda, we can come back and discuss it on a formal basis. And that's how we usually handle those issues. We've done that in the past.
That's what Robert's rules seems
Just
to say.
just to summarize, so that's clear, position of the mayor is, if someone would like to use a PowerPoint, that requires a council vote, but if someone merely wishes to speak, then that can be brought up anytime, correct? I just want to make sure I understand.
See, now you make me nervous that you're locking me into a specific thing that I said.
I'm just making sure I understood what was just said.
Okay, you're trying to get me to confirm whatever you just said to paraphrase what I
If I
said.
got it wrong, correct me.
I don't know. What I said is what I said. We're going to play it back so that I can sign a contract that this is what I said. Why can't we use, I just wish that we could all use a little judgment here and work together instead of this legalistic, like, let's figure out how to parse this particular word. Nobody's against anybody here. Nobody's trying to silence anybody. Every one of us up here is an elected official with the equal rights as an elected official. Nobody wants to, I've been attempted to be silenced under previous, when I was a council member, and I don't like it. And I didn't like it then, and I wouldn't do it now. Nobody's trying to silence anybody, but there's a difference between bringing something up under council business that's important to you, which is your duty if it's important to you and your constituents, it's your duty to bring it up. I would expect you to do that. But if you want to make a formal presentation, the body has to agree this is something we want to spend our time talking about. And there's a difference. I don't know why we have to write this into a law. The council business is to bring stuff up. A formal presentation is something different. We really have to codify that? I just wish we could act in good faith with each other. Go ahead.
I just want to point out, my position on this is anyone who properly submits before the agenda cutoff deadline, which is published, should be allowed to present. And we should all be so lucky that people would actually go through the trouble of preparing a PowerPoint, in my opinion. So I'm not trying to limit anyone's right to speak. Just want to be absolutely 100% crystal clear about that. Whoever wants to should be able to submit their topic, and they should get a speaking slot, because the ability to speak and discuss things is exactly why we're here, so that we can get the best solutions.
And you can speak.
With the PowerPoint if necessary.
Okay, that's a different thing. You want to make a
So
presentation.
once again, the PowerPoint is the cutoff. So I think that's amusing.
Well, I'm glad you're amused.
I am, yeah.
So, what is the decision? Because I'm going to call for a vote on this.
What's up for a vote?
What we're going to do, are we going to adhere to Robert's Rules of Order and continue doing this like we're doing it, or are we going to change?
Well, I think it's not been discussed fully if this is actually an adherence to Robert's Rules of Order.
Okay.
On the one hand, I do see a lot of value in anybody in the public who wants to come and speak, and they do have the 3 minutes to speak. However, if you are someone who wants to make a presentation and you meet the deadline, it is advertised because you've met the agenda deadline. It does get advertised. But on the other hand, you know, presentations are typically reserved for things that are that we need to get a lot of information out to the public. I don't necessarily want us to turn our meetings into everybody in the public. If you submit your agenda item in time, it gets on the agenda, because then we might not be, and whatever rule we set for one person, it has to be the same across the board. And I don't know that we want our meetings to become less business oriented if everybody decided they wanted to make a presentation. So my opinion is, if you want to make a presentation and it's not necessarily ordinary city business, that you bring it up and then it gets on the agenda for the next meeting.
Would you want to put that into a motion?
I said a lot of words just now.
If you want, I will.
I motion to table this for until the 2 weeks from now. That would be motion to postpone until a specific date, so that everyone can reflect on this discussion before anyone goes ahead and tries to codify something, because I don't think it's been sufficiently clear that this is an adherence to Robert's Rules of Order. So I think we should investigate that, and I think we should postpone this and then resume this discussion 2 weeks hence. So that's my motion.
Okay. So restate your motion, please, and concise, so we can get it, make sure we have it correct on the record.
This will be a motion to postpone to a date certain, and that would be to the May 6th meeting of the City Council.
We have a motion to table till May 6th. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion of the motion.
Yes. What we just did was what we'd normally do. This is a bigger item than for tonight, and we've asked to put it on the agenda. That's what we've always done. So I'd like to get some more information and talk about it at a later date. I didn't want to vote on this tonight. I didn't have enough information. I don't really know the implication of Robert's rules. So
Further discussion of the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. You're going to regret this one. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next, I'd like to just remind council and the public that the status report on the persons to be heard, the quarterly report, is in your backup and available to the public if anybody would like to review it. And the last thing I'd like to do is ask Corey Collins, our Parks and Rec Director, come on up.
Good evening.
Good evening, Ms. Collins.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Want to talk to you about the Arbor Day celebration. Can you bring up the flyer? There it is. Joe Ferris and Marissa Robinson brought this forward. It's a great event. We're not only giving away the 100 orange trees, but we're also going to do the ribbon cutting for the bat mural, which is now aptly named Happiness Has Wings. So it does have a name. The Rotary Club was the sponsor for this of Temple Terrace, so they will be there doing the ribbon cutting. The Sustainable Living Project will be selling fruits and vegetables. We'll have Eden's Nectar will be selling honey. MC Ice will be out there. We'll have some music. We're also going to do a drawing for 25 plants that were patio plants that were donated. So that'll be a nice little event. So we invite all of you to come out and the public to all come out as well. So it should be a good evening, April 22nd from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Family Complex. So then next up is the big one. This is May 3rd, River Jam. Everybody's talking about it. It's out there. Our marketing team has done a wonderful job promoting that. The Centennial Committee has been working very hard planning River Jam, held on May 3rd from 10 to 6. We have 32 Club Row sponsors and clubs and churches in Temple Terrace that will be taking part in this event. So that will be very, very nice. We have, as you have received your VIP packets, if you can make sure that you RSVP back to me so that everybody knows who's going to be there. We will have fun for the whole entire family. We'll have drumline going off, DJs. We're going to have bands. We will be having a presentation at noon, and it will be a short presentation, between 30 minutes probably is what we're shooting for. Then we have Moonberry that will be up there doing their thing, and the Danny Moody Band, which is a local Temple Terrace family band. And then we have Soul Circus Cowboys who will be out there, and they will finish it off at 6 p.m. So there's a lot happening. Your committee's been working very, very hard, so it's going to be a fun event. So I stand for questions.
Very good. Council members' questions. Councilmember Fernandez.
I have a question about the Arbor Day celebration.
Yes.
And I know that we are giving out 100 orange trees to the first 100 residents. But will people be able to find out or get information about getting other trees out of our tree program?
I'm sure Joe Ferris will be talking about that. Jack Early will be out there as well. So I'm sure he will. He's happy to give away trees.
All right, thank you.
Questions, council members?
Good job.
I do want to do one thing, because Maria has been fantastic with the marketing of this event and all of the events that are coming up. And just a few of the, if you don't mind, a few of the marketing summary impacts. We've already been featured and mentioned, and that's so Tampa, Tampa Free Press, all events. Actually, we were included in the National Syndication MSN, so it's out there. Facebook, Instagram, all the city assets. Look at the bulletin board, it's all over it. So they've been doing a fantastic job getting the word out, and there's paid ads, there's everything. So it's going to be a good turnout. We will see how it all plays out. So.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you.
Shabia.
That's all I have. Thank you.
City Attorney's report.
I have nothing to report.
Very good. Other business to come before the council? If not, we will stand adjourned.